In poliomyelitis, also called polio, so polio refers to the poliovirus, which is an enterovirus that infected our intestine. So myel refers to the spinal cord which is affected in this disease, and the itis refers to the inflammation. So poliomyelitis is an enteroviral disease first enters the body through the intestine, but then spreads and causes nerve injury in the spinal cord. Former US President Franklin D. Roosevelt contracted polio when he was a baby, and it left him wheelchair bound. Broadly speaking, the nervous system consists of two parts. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. So the peripheral nervous system includes the nerves that fan out from the central nervous system, which reads our muscle and also organs. Now looking at the cross-section of the brain, there is gray matters at the periphery of the brain. This is called the cerebral cortex, and it consists of nerve cell fibers. Just inside the gray matter of the brain is the white matter, and it consists of nerve axons. In contrast, if you look at the cross-section of the spinal cord, the white matter is on the outside of the gray matter, is on the inside, and overall it kind of looks like a butterfly. If we draw a horizontal line through the spinal cord, the front half is the anterior or the ventral half, and the back half is the posterior or dorsal half. And the butterfly wings are sometimes referred as horns. So we have two dorsal horns that contain cell bodies for sensory neurons, and two ventral horns that contain cell bodies for motor neurons. So for example, if you step on a Lego in your living room, the sensation of discomfort is carried from the nerve in your foot through the peripheral nervous system to reach the dorsal horn in the spinal cord. It then travels up to the spinal cord to the brain, letting you know there is a tissue damage. In response, your brain sends a message through the upper motor neurons, which are part of the cerebral cortex, and down the spinal cord to a lower motor neuron, which is located in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. From there, the signal finally gets delivered to the leg muscle and allows you to lift your foot. In addition to sending signal from the brain, these lower motor neurons also release atrophic of growth factors that promote muscle growth in the muscle that they innervate. Okay, before we deep dive into the pathogenesis of the poliovirus or poliomyelitis, first we need to discuss about the epidemiology of the poliomyelitis. So, poliomyelitis has had three phases. The first one is the endemic, second one is epidemic, and the third one is the vaccine era. The first two reflect pre-vaccine patterns. The generally accepted explanation is that improved system of hygiene and sanitation in cooler climates promoted the transition from endemic to epidemic paralytic disease in the societies. Before global eradication efforts began, poliomyelitis occurred worldwide year-round in the tropics and during summer and fall in the temperature zone. Winter outbreaks were quietly rare. Polio continues to remain a significant illness in unvaccinated areas of the world, particularly in Nigeria, Pakistan, and also Afghanistan. The disease occurs in all age groups, but children are usually more susceptible than adults because of the acquired immunity of the adult population in developing areas where living conditions favor the wide dissemination of virus. Poliomyelitis is a disease of infancy and early childhood, infantile or also called infantile paralysis. In developed countries, before the advent of vaccination, the age distribution shifted so that most patients were older than age 5 years and 25% were older than age 15 years. The case fatality rate is variable. It is highest in the oldest patient and may reach from 5% to 10%. Humans are the only known reservoir of the infection. Under crowded condition of poor hygiene and sanitation in warm areas where almost all children become immune early in life, polioviruses maintain themselves by continuously infecting a small part of the population. In temperate zones with high levels of hygiene, epidemics have been followed by periods of little spread of virus until sufficient numbers of susceptible children have grown up to provide a pool for transmission in the area. The prevalence of infection is highest among household contacts. In temperate climates, infection with enteroviruses, including poliovirus, occurs mainly during the summer. Virus is present in sewage during periods of high prevalence and can serve as a source of contamination of water used for drinking, bathing, or irrigation. There is a direct correlation between poor hygiene, sanitation, and crowding and the acquisition of infection and antibodies at an early age. Okay, move to the morphology and the structure will be discussed by my friend Ayas.
Now I'm going to explain briefly about the morphology and antigenic structure of the poliovirus. Poliovirus is a small non-enveloped icosahedral virus with a diameter of about 30 nanometer. It is composed of a single-stranded positive sense RNA genome surrounded by a protein capsid. The protein capsid is made up of 60 copies of each 4 proteins: VP1, VP2, VP3, and VP4 arranged in an icosahedral symmetry. There are 3 antigenic types of poliovirus based on the epitopes found in the VP1, VP2, VP3 proteins. Exploded diagram showing internal location of the RNA genome surrounded by capsid composed of pentamers of protein VP1, VP2, VP3, and VP4. Note the canyon depressions surrounding the vertex of the pentamer.
Okay, thank you Ayas for explaining the morphology, also the structure of the poliovirus. Now we move on to the pathogenesis of the poliovirus. Polio is a viral infection caused by a poliovirus, which is a single-stranded RNA virus protected by capsid, which is a protein coat. Polio mainly affects children under the age of 5 and it's spread by fecal-oral transmission, which means that the virus usually enters the body through contaminated food and water and then goes into the mouth. It also transmitted when an infected person sneezes or coughs, which spreads thousands of virus containing droplets into the local area. The virus enters the body, it binds to the mucosal cells of the oropharynx and small intestine and gets inside those cells and then releases its RNA. The viral RNA uses the cell's RNA polymerase enzymes to make copies of itself, and then the new RNA copies hijack the ribosome that normally make proteins for the cell and forces the ribosome to make viral proteins instead. The viral protein and RNA self-assemble into lots of new polioviruses, and within days they cause the mucosal cell to lyse, releasing the newly formed viruses which make their way to nearby lymph node and eventually into the bloodstream. So poliovirus refers to the infect motor nerve, and so oftentimes it will leave a blood vessel and get into the interstitial tissue of muscle tissue. From there, poliovirus invades the motor neuron and travels retrograde, meaning backwards up through the axon to enter anterior horn of the spinal cord. Infected motor neurons attract immune cells like neutrophil and also macrophage, which cause inflammation and damage to the spinal cord. As infected motor neurons die, the muscle of the trunk and limbs no longer receives signals from the brain or trophic factors, which cause the muscles to start to atrophy or swelling and become weak. On rare occasions, poliovirus can cause bulbar polio, which is when it affects a part of the brainstem that has motor nerves involved in speaking and swallowing. This part of the brainstem also sends motor nerves to the diaphragm, and so if they get damaged, it can impair breathing, which is really dangerous. Some people develop post-polio syndrome many decades after the initial infection. To understand this, it's important to know that when polio damages some motor neurons, other nearby healthy motor neurons form collateral branches to innervate the muscle that have lost their innervation. Now, over time, the natural process of aging causes motor neurons to die. So when a motor neuron dies from the aging process, a person doesn't just lose function in the muscle cells that were normally innervated, but also in the other muscle cells that were innervated by collateral branches of that motor neuron. Most individuals infected by poliovirus have no symptoms. In fact, polio only causes paralytic disease about 1% of the time. Symptoms of paralytic disease from polio include high fevers, intense muscle pain from spasm and weakness, loss of muscle reflexes, and eventually paralysis. Usually, the paralysis develops over a few days and is asymmetric, most often affecting larger proximal muscle, especially in the legs, like our thighs. In infants with poliomyelitis often develop acute flaccid paralysis, where they go limp, kinda like a rag doll. It's sometimes called floppy baby syndrome. Ultimately, if the motor nerves to the diaphragm are affected, it can cause difficulty to breathing and also which will lead to death. Okay, now how we diagnose a poliomyelitis? My friend Ayas, we will share how we diagnose the poliomyelitis.
Next is the diagnosis of the poliovirus. Diagnosis of polio is based on the recovery of poliovirus from throat swabs taken soon after the onset of illness and from rectal swabs or stool samples collected over the long periods. Diagnosis mainly is the acute onset of flaccid paralysis. Poliomyelitis can also be diagnosed by a lumbar puncture, where the cerebrospinal fluid is removed from the lumbar sac with a needle. The cerebrospinal fluid might have an increased number of white blood cells of poliovirus RNA. No permanent carriers have been identified among immunocompetent individuals but long-term excretions of poliovirus has been observed in some immunodeficient person. Poliovirus is uncommonly recovered from the cerebrospinal fluid. Specimens should be submitted immediately to the laboratory and frozen if testing is delayed. Cultures of human or monkey cells are inoculated, incubated, and observed. Cytopathogenic effects appear in 3 until 6 days. An insulated virus is identified and tied by neutralizations with specific antiserum. Virus can also be identified more rapidly by polymerase chain reactions, or PCR assays. Paired serum specimens are required to show a rise in antibody titer during the course of the disease. Only first infection of poliovirus produces strictly type-specific responses. Subsequent infection with heterotypic polioviruses induces antibody against a group antigen shared by all 3 types. Now we're going to discuss about the overview therapy of poliovirus. No specific treatment is available for a patient affected by poliomyelitis caused by this poliovirus. However, support therapy including intensive care treatment to maintain respiratory functions and provide cardiovascular support can stabilize the patients and allow rehabilitation. The key is to support individuals as they deal with the acute infections. Typically, that means pain medication to help with muscle spasm and the compressions of the bladder. Finally, the individual might need respiratory support if they have trouble breathing, something that historically required a device called the iron lung. Death in patients with poliomyelitis is usually the result of bulbar muscle, respiratory, and cardiovascular impairment. With intensive treatment of respiratory insufficiency, patients can survive the acute paralytic illness. In general, motor improvement begins within a month after the onset of illness. On follow-up, many patients are left with profound neurologic deficits. Others may return fully to activities of daily living, but some neurologic residue can usually be found on clinical or electrophysiologic examinations. There are some special cases called post-polio syndrome. In patients who have had paralytic poliomyelitis, progressive atrophy and weakness can develop after more than 10 to 15 years of stable neurologic functions. This syndrome, which is known as post-polio progressive muscular atrophy, is postulated to the result from the normal age-related loss of motor neurons from a motor neurons pool already depleted by the viral illness. A second symptoms complex in survivor of paralytic polio is characterized by progressive muscle pain, weakness, and fatigue. This post-polio syndrome, which may have up to 60% of patients infected during polio endemic, is not related to persistent viral infection and is of unknown disease.
Okay, so fortunately, it's possible to prevent infection with a vaccine, and humans are not the only natural host for the virus. Mainly, we've got vaccine IPV vaccine and also OPV vaccine. So, what is the difference? So, there is inactivated poliovirus vaccine or IPV, which is where that or inactive virus is injected in the muscle, and there is oral polio vaccine or OPV, which is a weakened strain of the live virus. Very rarely, about 1 time in a million dose of vaccine, the weakened virus in OPV or the oral poliovirus vaccine mutates within the intestine of the person getting vaccinated, and it refers to a form of the poliovirus that can cause paralytic polio called vaccine-associated paralytic polio or VAPP for short. But sometimes the weakened virus reverts to form that can cause vaccine-derived poliovirus or VDPV, which not only affects close contacts but can cause outbreaks of the poliomyelitis in communities that have low rates of vaccine coverage. Okay, VAPP and VDPV both are worrisome, but the events are relatively rare and mostly affect unvaccinated individuals. So the benefits of polio vaccine outweigh the risk, and polio vaccine is recommended. In fact, because of IPV and OPV, poliovirus is nearly eliminated worldwide. So thanks to the vaccine which can prevent infection of polio. Okay, as a quick recap, poliomyelitis or polio refers to a viral disease caused by the poliovirus. It is transmitted by fecal oral transmission and also aerosol droplets. The virus replicates in our small intestine and also our oropharynx before it spreads into the CNS and causes a nerve injury. Diagnosis is done by recovery of poliovirus from stool or throat through taking the specimen or the sputum, or by analysis of the cerebrospinal fluid. Lastly, there is no cure for polio, but there is a vaccine which can prevent the poliovirus, which is the IPV and also OPV. Okay guys, that is for today material about poliovirus. Thank you and goodbye. Bye.